When the world borrows, who gets paid? Most people hear global debt and imagine a single scary number. But the number isn't the real story. The real story is ownership. Because every debt is someone else's asset. Every IOU belongs to someone. And that means the most important question in 2026 is simple. Who actually owns the world's debt? In the next 10 to 12 minutes, I'll give you a clear, calm map. We'll treat global debt like a pie of claims. We'll separate what's owed from who holds the IOUs. And we'll connect it to the two forces that decide whether debt feels painless or terrifying. Interest rates and refinancing. Let's set the foundation with one mental model. Debt is not just money we owe. Debt is an IOU system. If you borrow, you get spending power today, while someone else holds a claim on your future cash flow. So the first retention question is this. If debt is everywhere, does that automatically mean the world is poorer? Not necessarily. Debt can finance productive investment. It can also finance speculation. The difference is what the borrowing creates. So step 1. What counts as global debt? At a high level, you can think in 3 big buckets. Government debt, corporate debt, household debt. Different countries have different mixes. Some rely heavily on government borrowing. Some are corporate debt heavy. Some have household debt as the main engine. But across the planet, the pattern is the same. Debt expands during long periods of stability, then becomes fragile when conditions change. Now here's the key shift. To understand risk, don't just ask how much. Ask how it rolls. Because most debt isn't repaid in one clean line. It's refinanced. Refinancing means the borrower doesn't pay everything back at once. They roll it over. Old debt matures, new debt is issued. The system keeps moving, as long as lenders keep showing up and the price of money, interest, stays manageable. So here's your first big question. What happens when interest rates rise, but the debt still needs to roll over? The same pile of debt costs more to carry. The monthly or annual burden grows. And if the market worries about risk, refinancing can tighten fast. That's why ownership matters. Because who owns the claims determines who receives the interest payments, and who feels the pain when risk reprices. Now let's map the ownership. Picture global debt as a pie of IOUs. Who holds the slices? In simplified form, you usually see 3 broad holders. Domestic investors and institutions, pension funds, insurance firms, mutual funds, households, banks and the domestic financial system. Foreign holders, overseas investors, central banks, global funds. Now, quick reality check. These categories overlap, and each country's structure is different, but the mental model holds. Debt is claims, and claims have owners. So here's the next retention question. When a government issues more debt, is it always the world lending them money? Often, a lot of it is domestic. That can look stable, until domestic balance sheets get saturated, or until higher rates make other assets more attractive. And when it's foreign held, that can also look stable, until currency risk enters the conversation, or geopolitics changes risk appetite. So, if you're trying to understand who gets paid, you watch 2 flows. Interest payments, where they go. Capital flows, who is buying the new issuance. This is where the USA versus China debate often appears. But here's the calmer truth. The point isn't a scoreboard. The point is incentives. If your domestic institutions hold most of your government debt, your system behaves differently than if foreign holders dominate. It affects policy flexibility, currency sensitivity, and the political pressure around inflation versus rates. Now let's zoom into the who gets paid part. Interest is a transfer. It moves money from borrowers to lenders. So if debt expands and rates rise, interest transfers become bigger. Ask yourself, who is positioned to receive interest as income in 2026? Typically, large holders of bonds and credit instruments, certain funds, institutions, and high net worth investors. Meanwhile, households with variable rate debt can feel the opposite. Higher payments, less spending power. So the distribution question becomes unavoidable. Is the cost of debt shared evenly? Usually not. The cost is shaped by who holds assets, who owes liabilities, and who has pricing power and wages. Now, where does inflation fit? Inflation changes the real value of claims. If inflation is high, the real value of fixed-rate debt can shrink over time. That can help borrowers, but it can hurt lenders unless rates compensate. So the system constantly negotiates a balance between inflation, interest rates, growth, and political tolerance without blame. Which brings us to the single sentence that explains why the debt number becomes dangerous. Debt becomes fragile when real rates rise and refinancing becomes harder. Real rates means interest minus inflation, not the headline number. So here's the practical question for viewers. Should you focus on the nominal interest rate or the real rate? The real rate is what determines how heavy debt feels in purchasing power terms. Now, let's make this personal without doom. What does this mean for you in 2026? It means you need 3 lenses. Lens 1, real returns. If your savings earn less than inflation, you're losing purchasing power. If your investments are up 10% but inflation is 7% and taxes take a slice, your real gain is smaller than it looks. Lens 2, rollover risk. If you have variable rate debt or a refinance window coming, interest rates matter to you immediately. The strongest position is optionality, the ability to wait, switch, or pay down. Lens 3, credit allocation. Where does credit go in your country? Homes, consumption, buybacks, productivity? Because credit flowing into productive capacity can support future incomes. Credit flowing into pure asset inflation can create a boom, and then a hangover. Now, one constructive tool, used responsibly. AI assistants can help here, but never as financial advice. Use them only for math, summaries, and scenario planning you can verify. For example, summarize a central bank report into a few bullet points you can cross-check. Convert nominal returns into real returns quickly. Run household scenarios. If my interest rate rises by X, what happens to monthly cash flow? AI reduces friction. You keep responsibility. Now, the final retention section. The debt map you can actually use. Here are 3 rules I'd keep in 2026. Rule 1. Always translate money into real terms. Nominal numbers can lie. Real purchasing power is the truth. Rule 2. Respect refinancing. Most debt lives or dies on rollover. Watch maturity walls, watch credit conditions, and watch real rates. Rule 3. Follow the flow of credit. If credit is feeding productivity, that's healthier than credit feeding pure speculation. The direction matters more than the headline number. Sources: Bank for International Settlements, BIS. Annual Economic Report, latest edition. International Monetary Fund, IMF. Global Financial Stability Report, latest edition. World Bank, Global Economic Prospects, latest edition. Reward for the people who stayed to the end. The debt conversation becomes 10 times clearer when you stop asking how much debt exists and start asking who holds the claims and who gets paid. Stay aware, stay adaptable, stay curious.